Today, Super Mario runs onto iOS and he's just gonna keep on running. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. We're back this week after being away at what I'm going to say was PAX.
Yes, PAX. That is a very plausible reason why we were in Seattle.
And we have the totally not Photoshopped pictures to prove it. Last week, Sony finally announced that the PS4 Slim was indeed a real thing, and everyone nodded politely and pretended to be surprised. Sony then also unveiled the nebulous PS4 Neo it teased back in June as a mid-cycle refresh to the PS4 hardware, which also confirmed that a mid-cycle refresh is a thing we are doing now. The PS4 Pro, as it's actually called, is capable of 4K gaming and a consistent 60 FPS at 1080p, as well as including more powerful graphics processor and a 1TB hard drive. Sony's Andrew House said the intent behind the PS4 Pro is to staunch the mid-cycle dip in sales, as players who demand the highest fidelity graphics possible tend to switch to PC. We wish Sony well in its titanic attempt to attract PC players to a $400 console. Meanwhile, Microsoft's own mid-cycle bump, the Xbox One S, was also announced, along with claims from Xbox's Albert Pinello that the performance difference between their fancy 4K console and Sony's fancy 4K console would be, quote, obvious. He also stated that they weren't concerned the PS4 Pro would release a whole year before the Xbox S, and neither Sony nor Microsoft seemed to think charging $400 for an upgraded version of a console that was supposed to last 10 years was the least bit weird.
Niantic has updated Pokemon Go to add a brand new feature called Walk with Your Buddy, and Pokemon trainers are hype AF. The feature allows you to choose a special Pokemon buddy and walk around with them. At certain distance intervals, the Pokemon will find candy, which is the all-important resource used to power up and evolve your Pokemon. Common Pokemon will find a candy every 1 kilometer walked, normal Pokemon every 3K, and rare Pokemon every 5K. So it's still not easy, but it's a huge improvement because it typically takes 125 Pokemon-specific candy to complete an evolution chain, and that's all but impossible if you're trying to evolve a rare Pokemon. For example, I want a Dragonite, but I only have 19 Dratini candy. I might never catch 27 more Dratini, but I could walk 500 kilometers, and I would walk 500 more, just to be the girl who walked 1,000 kilometers and had a Dragonite at the gym next door.
Bethesda was forced to announce last week that mods for Fallout 4 and Skyrim Remastered would not be coming to the PS4 after all, despite being originally promised for both consoles and available on Xbox One for months. According to Bethesda, the delay and ultimate canceling of the feature rests on Sony, who would, quote, not approve user mods the way they should work. Sony has remained silent on the subject, and that silence was filled with the sound of an Xbox social media manager crashing over their open-plan desk space to tweet a series of sick dunks from the official Xbox account. The winners today are Microsoft and people who like watching console tribalists argue on Reddit.
Kamemushi, one of the best Smash Bros. Players alive, wiped the floor with the competition at Tokyo's Umebura tournament this week. His prize for winning 6 rounds undefeated against the best players in the world? A pair of headphones and 66 pounds of rice. Meanwhile, the prize pool at the International was over $20 million this year. I hope it was nice rice.
At Apple's iPhone event last week, Shigeru Miyamoto joined Tim Cook on stage to announce a new Super Mario Bros. Title for iOS, and it's an endless runner. Apparently, Miyamoto has always wanted to design a Mario game you can play with one button, but putting the phrase endless runner at the end of a sentence is a great way to suck the air out of the room. On the upside, among the dozens of runner games using Mario graphics that are already on iOS, now there will be a real one. Nintendo will just have to be careful not to issue a copyright takedown on their own game.
As many of us know, sex is a big reason why The Sims is such a popular game. After all, everyone enjoys an outlet for sexy fantasies, right? Well, far be it from me to be a bit of a prude, but I think a Sims 4 mod called Wicked Woohoo might have taken things too far. This mod does it all. Undressing, teasing, watching, not watching, hand jobs, foot jobs, oral, vaginal, anal, group sex, custom positions, penises, boners, flashing, and exhibitionism. Also, teleporting to a sex location, swapping Sims during sex, setting up a sex position playlist for sex times, and forcing your Sims to remove their shoes during sex or forcing them to keep them on. There is one small bug, though. In the current version of the mod, once a sim starts having sex, they don't stop until you tell them to. Which, given the depth of this mod and its likely intended use, might be more of a feature than a bug.
That sounds awful.
Really?
Having to have sex for all eternity in shoes?
Well, what if they were comfortable shoes or slippers?
Any shoes. Nobody wants to see that. Well, I don't want to see that.
And luckily for you, there's a setting that means you never have to. Coming up, a No Man's Sky player has decided to walk all the way around a planet just to see what happens. Meanwhile, someone somewhere is deciding to eat crackers and peanut dust for dinner because they are too lazy to go to the subway across the street.
What is the option for teleporting to a sex location?
I don't know.
What's a sex location?
A place where your Sims are going to have sex.
Shouldn't you be able to have, shouldn't anywhere be a sex location?
Maybe you have a special sex purgatory room set up.
What's the point of this mod if you can't make literally anywhere your sex location?